Hi, my name is Viv, and in this video we're going to be talking about writing paragraphs in your essay for ASIA 1030. Now, when you're writing paragraphs, they need to carry your argument through the essay. They need to build a logical development of your argument to help you answer the question. So we're going to talk about the general principles of paragraphs and focus on some examples. A paragraph usually will consist of about 150 to 200 words. If it starts getting too long, about 250 words, 300 words, it can get confusing and hard to read. If it's shorter than around 100 words, it starts to feel a little bit too empty. So aim for that 150 to 200 word ballpark. Think of your paragraph as containing three main elements. First of all, the topic sentence, which includes two things: your main idea for that particular paragraph and an explanation of how it helps to answer your question. What is the argument that you're developing in that particular paragraph? It also will contain the evidence that you analyze, and sometimes it will include a concluding and linking sentence, which shows basically how that paragraph fits on to the next paragraph, how the ideas connect. So, one of the key problems that people will face when they're writing topic sentences is that they become a bit descriptive. They'll start talking about the evidence or they'll give facts, but they don't actually tell you what the answer to the question is. So, taking this example where the student is asking the question, what was the Chinese experience living in Fiji during the country's inner conflict, and how did it affect the Fijian economy? These topic sentences are giving facts. They're giving information, but they don't actually tell me anything about what the Chinese experience was like. So it's not directly answering the question. So these are very descriptive topic sentences. They might be accurate, but they don't answer the question. So what you want to do is make sure that your topic sentences answer the question. They need to show the topic of that paragraph and how it answers the question. So let's look at some good examples. So these topic sentences about masculinity in South Korea and how historical ideas have shaped masculinity in South Korea and new concepts, they tell us that, for instance, in the first paragraph, it's going to be talking about Confucianism. The same topic is expanded on in the second paragraph and the third paragraph. But then the fourth paragraph starts to talk about the contemporary era. So just by using those key terms in these topic sentences, you see what the topics broadly are, but you also see what the argument is within these topic sentences. So in the first paragraph, they're saying that Confucianism, which involves a highly patriarchal family system, etc., continues to pervade Korean conceptions of masculinity today. So they're explaining how those historical ideas have contributed to masculinity in South Korea. And in the final one that we see, it's starting to move on to answering the question about the new concepts. So Confucianism is not wholly responsible for its continuation of hegemonic masculinity. So it's starting to move on to different ideas. So in your topic sentences, make sure that you do those two things. Think about not only what is the paragraph about, but how does it answer the question. Now let's look at a sample paragraph to show the rest of those three moves in your paragraph. Here, for instance, in this particular topic sentence is the topic for this paragraph. So they're focusing on more contemporary examples and popular entertainment. So that's what they're focusing on, popular entertainment. And they're making the argument that there has been a rise in representations of a softer form of masculinity through this popular entertainment. So that helps to answer that question about what are the new concepts that are emerging. The concluding sentence at the end of the paragraph also wraps up the paragraph, summarizes it by showing what the topic was, so alternative forms of masculinity, and broadly showing us what the argument was. So the feminized representations of masculinity help to contribute to an increasing acceptance of alternative forms of masculinity. So it wraps it up by showing what that paragraph has shown. Now, they use a variety of evidence in this paragraph. So notice how they're drawing on two key works in this particular paragraph. You could draw on a bit more if you wanted, but what you'd want to be very careful of is that you show how the evidence connects, and be very wary of only focusing on one or two pieces of evidence in your analysis. So in your paragraph, if you only focus on one scholar, for instance, that may be a little bit limited. So you want to strike a good balance, like this student has here, where they're actually analysing the ideas from these two scholars, but they're going back and forth between them to show how they connect. And they're also showing their own analysis of how that evidence, how those examples from those scholars help them to answer the question. So they need to make it clear how the examples from Jung, for instance, about Pan-East Asian soft masculinity help them to answer the question. So they say these new forms of masculine representation have been influenced by, and so on. So they explain these are new forms of masculinity and they're softer forms of masculinity. So again, emphasizing their key argument. Also make sure to use cohesive language to connect the ideas in your paragraphs, particularly if you're putting multiple ideas together. So think of your paragraph as being one main idea, but you might have multiple examples, for instance, or multiple sub-ideas. So you need to connect them. You need to show how they relate to each other. So use that cohesive language. So there's more examples of effective paragraphs and useful advice on how to write good paragraphs on your Wordle site. And in the next video, we're going to be talking about writing conclusions.